Hi, my name is Dr. Ward. I want to welcome you to another video class in our series at theredox.com. Today we're going to talk about ulcerative colitis, which is not an uncommon condition, and some solutions that we can think about as we try to approach a solution from a molecular level instead of just kind of a medical level. And anytime we're dealing with health conditions, there's always something we can do for our health in addition to whatever we might be doing to treat a problem medically. We certainly don't want to take away from that, but there's lots of things we can do to support our health these days. And health is not just something that automatically happens. And these days, we've got to work towards that. So let me tell you a little bit about ulcerative colitis. It's a chronic inflammatory condition that affects the colon and the rectum. It doesn't involve the small intestine. It's very, almost impossible for that to occur. And in the spectrum of symptoms that you would see, things would include abdominal pain, diarrhea, that it has blood. Oftentimes it's bright red blood. There's usually weight loss associated with this because you're not absorbing things well in your colon. You're losing a lot of electrolytes and fluids with the diarrhea. Oftentimes there's fever because of the inflammation that's present, and anemia will develop because you're losing blood. So if the condition lasts and is not treated for a period of time, it can advance, and that inflammation that is leading to this can cause joint pain, swelling and inflammation in our liver, and even result in cancer of the colon if it's present for a number of years in an active form. Now, what causes ulcerative colitis? There are genetic factors. Most of our genetic factors, though, are adaptable genes that have switches on or switches off. And for example, we know that colon cancer has hot spots in different parts of the world, and it's generally related to our Western diet. So diets that are rich in foods that might include animal proteins that are processed with preservatives. And it's very interesting to note that in Japan, ulcerative colitis and colon cancer are very, very rare. But you can take those people from Japan, transplant them to the United States, and within about 20 years, statistics show that the incidence of colon cancer, for example, is about the same as any American. Another interesting finding is that there's definitely disturbances in the bacteria of the colon. And in our digestive tract, we have a whole forest of bacteria. We're supposed to have over 1,000 different species of bacteria we now know through genetic studies on our stool. And so in people with ulcerative colitis, there's definitely what's called a dysbiosis, where there's an imbalance of good and bad bacteria. And even cases where this may crop up, ulcerative colitis may happen as a result of having an infection with Clostridia difficile or C. diff infections that result from taking antibiotics. Somehow there's a triggering effect if you're genetically predisposed. How do you diagnose a problem of ulcerative colitis? Through colonoscopy. You've got to take a direct look and take biopsies, and the biopsies show a characteristic pattern of a special kind of inflammation. So what standard treatments are usually used in the medical world? We do recommend changing the diet and trying to eat foods that are not inflammatory, okay? And typically, vegetables and fruits that are cooked and processed properly are easier to digest for our colon, and to avoid, like strong spicy foods and things like that. Medicines that are commonly used are sulfasalazine, steroids, immunosuppressant drugs that are sort of new on the market. And believe it or not, one of the treatments that's rarely done, but sometimes done to save lives and prevent colon cancer, is literally to remove your colon and rectum. And that's pretty harsh treatment. This is a very serious condition. So in a little literature review, one of the things that I was delighted in finding was an article that you might want to read in the journal called Antioxidants and Redox Signaling. It's from 2013. And it's annotated in our resources for this video. The authors of this study kind of did a wonderful review to explain some of the oxidative stress and redox chemical reactions that are leading to this inflammation. and propose some very novel solutions from a research standpoint. So here's kind of what goes on in our biology from a molecular standpoint. Oxidative stress plays a key role in all of the inflammatory bowel disorders. I would also include Crohn's disease in this as well. In this disease state, what happens is you've got activated white blood cells that generate a lot of what are called pro-inflammatory cytokines. And there is an excess in oxidative chemical reactions as a result of this. So what this does is it alters the redox equilibrium of the mucosa cells, the lining cells of the colon. And that serves to maintain a steady flow of inflammation. And then that auto-amplifies or creates a vicious cycle of excess oxidative stress, excess inflammation, oxidative stress, inflammation. It just goes round and round and round. And what it does is it literally breaks down the gut barrier. The mucosa cells just become raw, inflamed, and just bleed and weep blood into our stool. And we literally cannot process the contents of our colon. And so it just comes gushing out very graphically. All right, so given this inflammatory state, the authors have proposed that there might be some solutions at a molecular level. And that would be research designed to target certain selective molecules. So we know these molecules like nuclear factor kappa B, NADPH oxidase, these are all involved in redox signaling chemical reactions at a cellular level. So what if we could turn on some of these molecular messengers and kind of stop this vicious cycle? That research is ongoing right now. The other things we can do to help out at a molecular level is increase the effectiveness of our antioxidants. We've got oxidative stress. Let's turn that off. Let's try to restore balance. So antioxidants like superoxide dismutase, glutathione, these large antioxidant molecules that go around to try to correct all this imbalance of oxidative stress can be actually improved in their efficiency by providing the body with a natural resource of redox molecules. Well, our cells are supposed to produce those, but they're not going to be able to produce them when they're in this vicious cycle. We got to break the cycle. And so one way to do that is to supplement your body with redox molecules. We can do that today. And you don't need a prescription to do that. You can do that in addition to any medical therapy you can imagine. You're not going to interfere with that. These are health endeavors that are up to us to decide whether we're going to do them or not. So supplementing redox molecules and drinking them, for example, will provide a balanced resource of those very molecules that can stop this maintenance of inflammation that just breaks down our tissue. That, combined with also improving the efficiency of our antioxidants as well, can lead to a lot of support for our bodies and perhaps, maybe, shut this down. Or perhaps even better than that, what if we never had this happen in the first place? Because we were able to switch on or off those genes that are directing our biology that make up 95% of our DNA. Very few people know that 95% of all of the genes in our body are subject to environmental turning on or turning off. And only about 5% of our genetic material is fixed. So that is a message of hope. I hope this kind of explains a little bit about how ulcerative colitis can dramatically alter our health. And but yet we have a lot of hope for their future and things we can do today in terms of providing resources to every little cell that might be involved in this very serious condition. Thank you for your attention. We look forward to